Hello once again, witchy people, welcome back to the Covenstead. And I'm trying to sort out the light, but it's such a sunny day. No matter where I sit, there's all this bright light behind me everywhere. So this is with all the shades down. Yes, we're being very British about it. We're all staying in and sweltering and complaining about the heat, or all diving down to the coast and wondering why we're stuck for 3 hours in traffic. Yes, we British, we don't deal with extreme weather. And as far as we're concerned, if it's over 28 degrees and below about 5, not even 5, it's extreme weather as far as we're concerned. And yeah, we don't deal with it very well. We used to. I think as a population, we used to deal with it very well. You know, when the Thames froze over, we skated on it. You know, when it snowed, we made snowmen. When it was way hot, 1976, it was so hot, we fried eggs. Well, not me personally, but the Echo office, the local newspaper office, to show how hot it was, fried eggs on the pavement. So we've always kind of like adapted to the heat in funny, quirky, stupid ways, because that's the British way. And yeah, now we just don't. If it can't be done on a computer, it can't be done. So we don't do anything about the hot weather, and we don't do anything about the snow. We don't go out in it as adults. I think generally as a population we are getting very useless. Anyway, that's not what I'm here to talk about. The idea today was when spells go wrong. Because we all know when spells don't work, we tend to have a reason for it. You know, if they just nothing, no, it's a damp squib, nothing happens. We tend to have a reason for that. But what about when they go wrong? When spells go wrong, and I mean really wrong. So I thought I'd talk about it. And this chair is so uncomfortable. It's a very creaky, very old chair. I love it. So, when spells go wrong, what can we do? The thing is, I think, for me personally, it's not what we do after the spell goes wrong. It's to try and do everything you can before the spell goes wrong. So if you're very much into wording things and almost like making little lyrical poems to help with your spell work, you have to get it right. It doesn't matter if it doesn't rhyme, as long as you get the wording right. So, and it's things like I say, sometimes the universe gives you what you need, not what you want. And that's something to remember. So if you are, I don't know, looking for love, don't do a general spell for love. Try to be a bit more specific and figure out not specifically who you are aiming for, but what kind of person you want. Because you don't want to be stalked or, you know, murdered in your bed or anything. You don't want to open yourself up to the wrong type of person. And something I have recently learned after so many years of being online and being not very good at it, but I have a thing, and I'm just going to go into this just off kilter again, completely in off subject. So on Facebook, which is my main sort of, and I'm not I'm not a huge online presence. So when I am occasionally on Facebook, it's usually to sort of like keep up with my kids and my grandkids and my family. But if someone wants to befriend me and they are friends of friends, I like, these could be all right. Obviously, these people knows this person, so they might be all right. And I made that mistake, and really, it didn't last very long. It was only a couple of days, but the experience I had was that it was brutal and rude and uncomfortable. And I actually said to the person who was sending me all these messages and getting very upset with me if I didn't reply right away, you know, I said to them, you are making me very uncomfortable, and I'm not comfortable in giving out my phone number or even taking your phone number because I do not know you. And it got to the point where I thought, what would I do? Because I think I revert back to quite a gullible and naive state when I'm confronted with anything. And that, like I said, anything. I don't keep my witch head on. And I should, because that's who I am. And I thought about it, what would I do? Because I kind of like, not cast a spell exactly, but you put that wish out into the universe that I wish I had more connections. I wish I had more people to share with and experience life with. And then this person, actually there's been 3 of them, but this main particular one came into my life and absolutely terrified me. It's like having a mini stalker for a mini amount of time. It was weird. And I kind of realised to myself, so it's not really going off topic, but I am sort of like, you know, working my way around. And I thought to myself, you just put that out there. And the universe is telling you, to me, it was almost like, you've got some amazingly good friends. You've got people that you know you can talk to. You've got people that ground you so easily with just a simple message. And, you know, I mean, I'm meeting up with a very old friend of mine. I hadn't seen her for like more than 30 years, and we started meeting up, and it's wonderful. And when I was in my last crisis, if you like, a couple of people started messaging me online, and one of them, hi Wendy, is a really important part of my world now. That may make her feel slightly uncomfortable, and I apologise. But it's almost like she keeps me quite grounded. She's very lovely. She's just lovely, and she's open. She reminds me very much of some of the friends I've got. All my friends seem to be very similar in some way. But anyway, so off topic again. That's the trouble. You go off topic. I'm a bit Billy Connolly on this. I go off topic, and I don't know where I'm coming back. But give us a second. Back on topic. So, as I was saying, it was like the universe was telling me, you've got some amazing people around you. Why the heck do you want more? Why do you think you need more when you should appreciate what you've got? So I think, like I said, sometimes when spells go wrong, the universe is giving you what you need. Not what you think you need or what you want. It's giving you what you need. And mine was, I think, a huge shift, boot up the backside. Just to remind me, I have friends and people I can lean on, and family, and, you know, why do I need to know more people when the people I know, not that I wouldn't like to know more people, but the people that naturally come into my life are amazing, and there are some very deep connections already. Why would I want to expand on something that I already have and force that, rather than just, you know, toddle along and see what happens? So that's what I mean. So when spells go wrong, the other thing about when spells go wrong is, and I have a rule, never do a spell that you cannot undo. And I've said this once before when dealing with knot work, knot spells. So if you are knotting string or ribbon or rope or anything and creating a spell that way, and then you burn what you have knotted, which a lot of witches I know do. Personally, I can't do that, and I won't do that because I feel that then I have no way of changing my mind. I have no way of reversing anything, any part of that spell. I have no way of reversing without going into a whole convoluted way of doing it. It's better to keep it simple. And that's the other thing when spells go wrong. Keep it simple. If you try to do, when you're doing spell work, try to, and you want 10 things, break it down. Don't put it all together in one. Break it down. If you want 10 different things, do 10 different spells. So if you want to be rich and happy, do 2 different spells. Don't put it together and say, I want to be rich and happy. And like I said, be specific. Because if you are not specific and you just did a spell, I want to be rich. Well, the universe may say, she doesn't really need money. That'll ruin her. That's a big engine bike. Oh, the joy of living on an estate. So the universe may not want to give you money. But who says you can't be rich in other things? You can be rich in health, wealth, friendship, love. And so the universe will give you what you need. And sometimes the universe will try you because you need to be tried every now and then. Barkley. He doesn't like the hot weather. Come here then, baby. Come here. Come here. Oh, and sometimes the universe gives you a smelly doggy. So. No licky lickies. Okay, so the universe sometimes likes to test you, like when the dog sleeps under my bed and farts. It's that's the dog testing me, like, you love me, but do you love my farts too? Is it too hot, baby? Oh. So yes, so sometimes the universe likes to test you and try you, and you have to look at it as it's a way of making you stronger. So sometimes your spells aren't working because you're asking for the wrong things. Whether that's for you or for someone else, you're still asking for the wrong things. Sometimes spells go wrong just because they do. Fair enough. Because we don't always get everything right all the time. I'd like to think I would, but I don't. And yeah, so you have to think, spell work isn't something that I do on a daily basis. Not really. And the trouble is with that is that I think if you are quite selective in when you do your spell work, you can sometimes be selective for the wrong reasons. So you tend to do spell work when you're in crisis or need. And that is quite often the wrong time, because you've got so many layers of thought and need and stuff going on in your head and your heart and your soul, and you expect someone else or something else, the universe and others, to help you sort that. And sometimes you have to start with yourself. And it's seagulls. Sorry, I can hear seagulls and I love the sound of seagulls. Yes, so yeah, sometimes you have to start with yourself and really think about, yes, you may need to do a spell, and sometimes it is a real need to do a spell. But within that need to do, is it better to do it right then and there when you may not be mentally, emotionally, or even physically capable of fulfilling that spell's potential within yourself? Is it better to wait? Is a day going to make a huge difference? Is a sit down and think going to make a big difference? And the only difference it should make is it should make it better for you. So yes, there is a lot that can go wrong with spell work, which is why I think a lot, some witches, as there was a discussion a few years back, why witches don't witch. And I think it was Lady Gravedancer who started this conversation, why witches don't witch. And I think sometimes it's because as a witch, you've got power. Everyone's got power. It's learning to harness that power. And when you've got power, it can be a scary thing. It can be frightening. It can be sometimes quite overwhelming to know that if you apply the right mental and emotional faculties to something, anything, a problem, a person, an item, you can change it with your will and strength and power of the universe around you. That's a huge power to have. And sometimes witches don't witch because we don't want to get it wrong. And there's always that part of, even me, especially me, who sometimes thinks that things are going the way they are because they are supposed to be the way they are. Why should I try and change them? So yes, I do not spell work very often, and that's a shame because I used to. But I'm also very much now, I think as you get older, you tend to do small, maybe insignificant spells a lot of the time without even realising you're doing it, like when I was wishing for and hoping for a wider circle of people around me. I didn't need that. But that's the kind of little spell works that you do. I mean, most nights I am out in my garden at some point looking up to the moon or the stars, or out to the garden, or watching clouds, or, you know, just as dusk is coming in, counting bats as they fly around the garden, which is one of my favourite things to do. You know, catching glimpses of spider webs, all sorts, and using this as a time for really spell work or divination, because that's what comes naturally. And that's a part of my life. But to actually sit back and separate myself and prepare a spell and do a proper spell, and to think about exactly what I need, it's hard work. Which is why I think spells do go wrong, because we are sometimes very unspecific about what we feel we need. And sometimes we have high expectations that will never be met realistically, because regardless of how metaphysical it is and how magical and wonderful it is, it's still a reality. Yeah. See, I'm going off on one today. So yes, when spells go wrong, it's a complicated question, but as I said, never do a spell that can never be undone. Always protect yourself. And, you know, and it is simple things like, if you are sending out any spell, it doesn't have to be a hex, any spell whatsoever, you should ask for that spell not to come back and return to you in any way, because you've given that energy out. It's no longer yours. It's not part of you. It is something that you are sending out. And if you internalize that again, to me, it just feels wrong. It's not quite right. So, yeah. And it's not just hexes and stuff that you should protect yourself against, because let's face it, you know, no one is, well, okay, yes, there are people that are 100% good out there, as I am sure there are people who are 100% evil out there, you know, or bad. But for the most part, I think we're very grey, and, you know, we take a little bit of everything. And so no one really, in general, I suppose, I don't think ever, never hex. I mean, even if you swear or think badly of someone, that can be considered a hex. So, or a curse. So yeah, people very rarely do just one thing. They don't just concentrate on good or bad. It's usually we're very eclectic beings. And you don't want anything coming back at you. Once you've let something go and you've put it out there, you really don't want it coming back to you. In that, yes, you're thinking, oh yeah, but I did a good thing, I want that to come back on me. You shouldn't do anything good just because you think you're going to get a reward back. Which is why I have a problem with the rule of 3. You know, whatever you do comes back to you threefold. I do have a slight problem with that. And that's why. But I do believe that, you know, you drop a pebble in a pond and watch the ripples, and they will go further and further out, and everything you do touches something else. So you have to bear that in mind. But yeah, that was all I wanted to talk about today, really, was when spells go wrong, because I know that I've had, like I said, this experience of wanting more people around me and then getting what I really deserved, which was a kick up the backside, and, you know, how dare you, you've got some lovely people and, you know, good friends. Why should you ask for more when you're not using and concentrating and including what you have? So there you go. So when spells go wrong, think about what you really do need rather than what you want. Think about how you start, how you say things and how you word things. Never do more than one thing at a time. Like I said, if you want 2 different things, do 2 different spells. Never mix them up, because, you know, you are mixing it up. Energy is energy. You don't want to, you know, get it all confused out there. Barclay agrees. He's giving me the side eye. And yes, like I said, did I mention never do anything that you can't undo? Or, like I said, you cast spells, but don't make them so complicated that you can't sort of undo them in some way, or change them in some way, or expect change in some way. The more complicated you make something, the more likely it is to go wrong anyway, in my experience. There you go. When spells go wrong, just a little chat with a very hot Barclay on a not so hot day. We had the 40.1 degrees and I had a fan, I had a cool room, my bedroom, and I stayed there. I like the cold. I deal with cold so much better. When it's cold, you snuggle down, you get a blanket, you cuddle up together, you get warm. When it's hot, what can you do? Strip off and jump in a pool of ice? I don't think my neighbours would like that somehow. And neither would I, actually. Yeah, so keep safe, everyone. If you're here in the UK and you are suffering with the heat, please be very careful. And look after your little pets, your little fur babies, because they're important too. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Witchy people, I'll try and be back very soon. Bye for now. Say bye-bye, Barclay. Say bye-bye, Barclay. He's in my face. You're so sneeze in my face. And deservedly too. Yes, I know.